Hi, it's Jane O'Halloran, founder of Anxiety Escape the Cage. Welcome to this live video. Apologies, it's a little bit later than originally planned. Things changed. Hope you're doing okay. It's very warm here. So I hope you are managing to stay a little bit cool. So yeah, welcome. I wanted to talk today to ask you if you feel like you have either little or no control over your life. Perhaps you feel like you're stuck in a situation. Perhaps you feel like you're stuck in a job or a relationship and you really feel powerless. You feel like you are well and truly stuck. Hi, Prue. Or perhaps you feel at the mercy of your emotions, never knowing when a word or a thought is going to kind of take the rug from underneath you. Hi, Sam. You can be I was just saying, you can be stuck, no control, feeling like, you're stuck in a situation, a relationship, a job, feeling powerless, feeling like you've got very little control over your emotions. A word or a thought can send your heart racing, sinking feeling in your stomach. Your mind goes into meltdown, and you never quite know when that's going to happen. It's just that feeling of being out of control. Or perhaps you feel your habits are out of control. You comfort eat, or you feel you turn to alcohol or cigarettes or shopping, anything to distract you from what's actually going on, from that pain of your situation. And when those habits become uncontrollable, and it's a horrible feeling. You can see yourself doing these things. It's like you're watching in horror as you continue to do these things, but you just can't feel like you just can't feel like you have control. You just can't stop yourself. You just can't. It takes over you. And and what we do, the reason we do those kind of things to distract ourselves is because what we're doing is we're numbing. We're numbing those painful emotions. We can't face them, and we do whatever we can. That extra tub of ice cream, that extra cigarette, that extra drink, that shopping spree that we can't afford. And it's all numbing. It's numbing the pain. The problem is that, first of all, that behavior, you have to do more and more of it for it to work. You become immune to the effects of it. So you have to do more and more for it to actually distract you, to numb those painful emotions. And also, the problem with numbing is that you numb all emotions. You can't selectively numb one lot of painful emotions, or one lot of emotions that are painful. You have to you numb everything, and that's not a way to live, is it? To feel numb, to not feel the joy of being alive, to not feel the excitement, to live half a life just numbing, and that you're completely out of control because you need these behaviors. You're completely reliant on them. You're addicted to them, and we can, get addicted to all sorts of things, not just drugs, but food, alcohol, shopping, all sorts of behaviors. It becomes an addiction, and an addiction is out of control. So, it's a horrible place to be. It feels powerless. You feel powerless. And it's like you know, imagine an animal that's trapped in a cage, completely powerless over their lives. It's awful. It's, yeah, the only word I can think of is powerless, to describe that feeling. It's demoralizing. It's robbing you of your life. It's robbing you of your joy. It's robbing you of your ability to live fully. This feeling of not being in control of your life. And yes, there are always going to be things that you've got no control over. Everybody has things in their lives that they haven't got control over. The problem is when you feel like you've not got control over most of the things in your life, or you don't feel like you've got control of anything in your life. That's where the problem is. Or you find it really difficult to discriminate between those things that you have got control over and those things that you haven't got control over. And sometimes taking control means accepting situations or accepting certain things that you know you can't control right now. So the only control you have in that instance is to accept that for that moment, not necessarily completely, but just have to accept that in this moment, this is where I am. In any moment, that's all we can do. We can accept or resist. So if you are pushing against, if you're resisting, if you're, getting frustrated and angry, that's completely destroying your peace of mind. And those emotions take over you. And again, you've not got that control, that lack of ability to accept the moment and to know what you can accept and to know what you can change. So that can be a feeling of powerlessness, that not being able to accept or not being able to discriminate between what you can control and what you can't control. So I've been thinking about this because I personally have very much experienced not being in control of my life. I have, as most of you know, had very acute anxiety and depression. So at that time, I felt I had zero control over anything that was happening to me, especially my emotions, my thoughts and my emotions. So a word, anything could trigger this horrible, anxious feeling. And I never knew when that was going to happen. So that was a real feeling of powerlessness. And also, some of you also know that I have spent many years stuck in a very unhappy relationship. And that is changing. And that's what I'm going through right now. And it is amazing to feel like I am taking control of that situation. And you know what kept me stuck for years and years? Fear. It was pure and utter fear. That's what kept me stuck and powerless and firmly sticking my head in the sand, doing all those things to distract myself because I was unhappy, but I could not face the situation. And that's when you feel stuck, when you, either way, it's like, if I stay here, this is really miserable, but I'm too frightened to move forward. And that is when you are powerless. You really take your power away. So fear is a big, big thing that keeps us stuck. And that fear that creates stress. And stress, when we're stressed, we cannot see the bigger picture. Stress is designed to help us to totally tunnel in on that situation in front of us, because it was designed for us to use when we were, cave dwellers and we were faced perhaps with, a threat, a saber-toothed tiger or another person attacking you, and that stress was designed for you to totally focus in on that situation and handle it. You don't need to be looking at the bigger picture. The problem is, as you if you're constantly stressed, you're constantly just tunneling in and you cannot see the bigger picture. You cannot see the wood for the trees. You just can't do it. And so that's what really keeps you stuck, really and truly. Okay, so Sam, just reading, I understand about the excitement part. Earlier, I felt more like my old self and was behaving and talking like myself prior to anxiety. After things calmed down, I felt strange, almost like, how dare I feel good and happy? Does that make sense? As if that person, as if, who was that person a minute ago? The moving forward can be scary, can't it? Absolutely, Sam. I totally get that. It's kind of like you get a glimpse of this strong, powerful person, and you're like, yes, I can do this. And then immediately this, or maybe not immediately, but like you say, like a moment later, this voice comes in. Who do you think you are? You know, this is ridiculous. You can't do this. You're not good enough. You know, all these things that we tell ourselves, that what we can refer to as the ego, and the ego is a very tricky word because different people have different ideas about what the ego is. But when I talk about the ego, I'm talking about all our old programming, all the messages we have imbibed from our childhood, from our parents, from our peers, from society. And we've built up this whole story that we tell ourselves often, which is really quite negative. So yeah, I get that, Sam. It's like you perhaps escape that a little bit. Perhaps you're listening to your higher self. You tune in for a moment to the higher self. I sort of imagine it as like when you're tuning in, they don't do this anymore on radios and televisions, but in the olden days, and you'd be tuning something in and you'd get a glimmer of an image, and then it would flicker off again. It's almost like that you get this glimmer of this, your higher self, your higher perspective giving you that message. And it's like, oh my goodness, oh. And then, wham, these old stories, this old programming comes back in. So, yeah, I completely get that. And, you know, sometimes we have to hit rock bottom or a crisis to change. Sometimes that might be where you are right now. Maybe you've got to that point where you're at rock bottom, where you're in a crisis. And you kind of have to go, I surrender. What the heck do I do? I need help. Or maybe you're not at rock bottom or crisis and you think, actually, I don't want to get to rock bottom. Perhaps you want to make that change before you get to that point, because you can see yourself heading there, and it's like, actually, no, because you're watching this video for a reason. You know, everything happens for a reason, everything. And you are watching this video for a reason. Something in you has drawn you towards this video. Something in you has brought you to this group, has drawn you towards this. You're looking for something. You're looking for answers. And let me just see, Sam. Yeah, I've got to scroll a bit. Yeah, I've done the rock. Yeah. And when you get to rock bottom, really, the only way is up, to be fair. You can't get any further. You're at rock bottom. So that's the good news. So the thing is, what you need to know, what I need to know, what we all need to remember is that we are all powerful beyond measure. We all have something in us, a light that shines, something that we're born with. We are love. We are light. We are the universe, whatever you want to call it. We are that higher consciousness. That is who we really are. That is who we really are. And just getting a glimpse of that, just knowing it, actually, for me, it was quite a revelation to know, to learn is that who I really am? And it's not, It's not a knowing that is like something that you can tell somebody and they go, oh yeah, now I know that. It's a knowing that you really have to embody. You have to embody that knowing. But you know, when you embody that knowing, your life takes off. Your life takes off. And it doesn't mean that you're never going to have problems or that you're never going to have, excuse me, any doubts or fears or emotions that may be challenging. But it's a totally different perspective. You see it from a totally different perspective. And as I was saying, you know, to Sam about the higher self, that higher perspective, that is, you live more and more in that place. You hang out there more, and you shift and you shift and you shift, and you start to embody that knowledge that you are love, you are powerful, you are light. And it is amazing. And you know, I don't know, I think it's very difficult to do that on your own, and it's very because our old programming, the stories we tell ourselves are so powerful and so ingrained at such a deep level that it's like this elastic band that keeps pulling us back to our old stories. And we need somebody who's a little bit further down the line to kind of go shine that light, so that each time you are pulled back to your old stories, your old programming, you know, it happens to me as well. And I have teachers who shine their light and go, this is who you are, this is who you are, remember, this is who you are. And it's so important to have that in your life. I don't know where I'd be without that, because you know, the pull of going back to our stories and our programming is so strong. And the older you get, you know, the more years perhaps you've had of that programming, it becomes harder to move away from it. But it can be done. You know, it really it can be done. And when you embody that knowledge, and when you have somebody that's constantly shining that light and saying, yes, this is who you are, you are love, you are love, you are loved, you are so loved, you are love, you are worthy, know it. And not just that, but also giving you the practical tools to embody that knowledge, because that's what it is at the end of the day. There's that you being able to empower yourself. And so, like I say, you know, you're watching this for a reason. Do you want to make a change? Do you want to take this opportunity? Or are you going to be like maybe a lot of people and go, okay, yeah, that's a nice video, move on? But really ask yourself, is it time for you to make that change? Is it time for you to take that step? Because you've connected with me, something within you has drawn you to this, something has resonated. Is it time to take that next step and move forward? So, you know, do you want to take that step, or do you want to retreat back into what is familiar but maybe deeply unhappy? And the ego, we talked about, hang on just a second, let me just have a fan, getting a bit warm. That's better. So the ego likes to protect you. It likes to keep you safe, and we need the ego because otherwise you might run off a cliff. We need the ego, but the trouble is the ego tries to keep you in what's safe and familiar within a wider context of your life. And sometimes what's familiar is not working. And so it's taking that step forward, and it can be scary and it can be frightening. But then if you've got somebody who's holding out their hand and saying, come and join me, I'll help you, I'll walk with you, that makes it so much easier. So if you want to have a life where you wake up excited about your life instead of that feeling of dread, and I know that feeling so well, I really know that feeling of waking up with awful feeling of dread. But if you want to have your life where you live a life where you wake up feeling excited, where you feel joyful, where you feel you're contributing to life in your unique way, because we all have something to contribute to life, whatever that might be, in whatever way that might be. So if you want to feel that you're contributing to life, if you want to feel like you're living a full life, and if you want to feel like you are in control of your life, you're in the driving seat. You are in the driving seat of your life. And yes, there are roadworks and traffic lights and, you know, but you're in the driving seat. And so you can make those decisions about your life. So I wanted to finish with a beautiful quote. It's a very simple quote from Maya Angelou. It says, let me just tune into it. Nothing can dim the light that shines within you. Nothing can dim the light which shines within you. That light is so bright, it's never going to dim. The only problem is that we can't see that light. That's the problem. It's bright, it's shining. So, you know, if you want to escape that cage of fear and doubt and step up into that bright, shining light that you are, then just send me a message and we'll talk about what we can do to move you into that brighter future, to get those results for you. And there's so much that we can do. There's so many ways that we can work together. We can find a way that totally works for you. So thank you so much for joining me. Let's have a quick look. Got any more messages? Yeah, want to keep moving forward. You're welcome, Sam. And thank you, Sam, for joining me. Thank you, Prue, for joining me. And thank you, anyone else watching on the replay. Look forward to hearing from you. Love and light.